Tonight's speaker, Dave, I've been interested in this type of photography of abandoned places for quite a while.
Right. No, just hold it up a bit.
Okay?
Can't, like.
Oh, I'll turn my microphone down.
Okay.
He does the adjusting, doesn't he?
Yes.
How's that?
Good. Sounds
Hey.
good. Good.
It's hard to get good help. I think I've been asked to introduce Dave because this is a kind of photography that I'm interested in and have been pursuing to a certain extent for quite a few years. For me, it's that kind of tension between beauty and decay. It's the sense of the lives that have been lived by the people in these places that are now long abandoned and desolate. So it's a pleasure to be introducing Dave. It's not very often that I see work by somebody who's as dedicated and passionate and daring, I would say, about the work that he does. And he is producing some of the best work that I've seen of abandoned places. So he prefers that his last name not be used, and you'll understand that in a little while. So let's just welcome Dave and see his presentation on Freaktography.
See if this microphone works first. Hello, 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 hello. Testing, testing.
Yep.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, before we turn the lights off, I'm Dave. Nice to meet you. Thanks everybody for coming. I have a few questions of everybody. Question number one, is there any City of Burlington employees in the room? And do you know where you parked? Okay. Now for the serious stuff. First question that I like to ask is, who is the OPP or RCMP officer who's been sent to interview me tonight? None. Okay, good. So we're off to a good start. Number two is, how many people in this room have ever trespassed to take a photo?
Yes.
Okay, that's a pretty good group. Of the people who did not put your hands up, have you ever walked on train tracks?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we are all a group of trespassers. Okay? Good. So let's get started. This is a bit of a biography that somebody wrote about me and what I do. He says, forget the explorers you learned of in school, all that sloshing around in leaky sailing ships, not to mention the scurvy. Those were your grandmother's explorers. The social media personification of the modern-day explorer goes by the name Freaktography. This anonymous person is today's breed of explorer, choosing to seek out and show the wonders and mysteries of our own backyards. Living by the Urban Explorer's Code, take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints, Freaktography uncovers and reveals the secret lives of rural and urban abandoned homes, factories, hospitals, and other institutions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm going to get you guys a little bit more excited here. I am live streaming this on YouTube for the first time. I would like you guys to all say hello to the people on YouTube. I'm going to count to 3, and I want you all to say really loud, what is up, guys? 1, 2, 3.
What is up, guys?
Now do that again. 1, 2, 3.
What is up, guys?
Okay, so that's for the YouTube crowd. So, what is urban exploring? It is the study of parts of civilization that are normally unseen or off limits. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sure.
I call it recreational trespassing. So, a bit of a disclaimer about urban exploring if you guys decide to try it. Number one, it's dangerous. People have fallen through floors into basements, they've broken their legs and arms, torn ligaments, pulled muscles, received stitches, and in fact, people have died doing this. Please be very careful of where you step and always be aware of your surroundings. Number two, it's very illegal. Anyone entering an abandoned building is immediately trespassing. You could also be charged with breaking and entering, mischief, or more. I'm in no way suggesting that you do what I do. But if you do, and you get caught, the fine is the equivalent to getting a speeding ticket or a parking ticket. It's a $65 fine, and there's no record of it. However, depending on how you act when you're caught, you could be upgraded to mischief or B&E, which are criminal offenses. So if you guys do decide to trespass, don't look at me. And number four, if anybody in this room owns any of the properties I'm about to show you, I'm sorry. And I have had to apologize to some people that live in Burlington for sneaking around in their houses. Do I sound okay? Do I hold that? No? All right. Need that? Okay. All right. 1 second, people.
It's tinny.
That's just a subject matter.
How does that sound?
Oh,
Okay, I don't have to read that again, do I? Okay, so let's talk about how I got started. Now, I have a habit of putting the microphone in my mouth, so tell me if I'm talking too loud or if I'm not making any sense. So let's talk about how I got started doing this. It was in March of 2012. I never really heard of urban exploration photography, but a friend told me about this old abandoned house in Niagara on Lake, Ontario, which is the house that you see right here. It's at the end of a beautiful street full of well-manicured houses. The story of this abandoned and derelict house piqued my interest, and I did some more research to learn more about the house. I discovered a community of people who visit abandoned buildings, take pictures of them, and put the pictures on the internet. This was called urban exploration. I had a Nikon D50, and I really needed something to do with myself, so I ventured out into the back roads of Milton and Burlington to see what I could find. In 2012, I started a little Facebook page. Then I launched a website in 2013. I had some stories go viral in January and February of 2015. And then again, 2016. 2018, you people voted me best photographer at the Burlington Post Reader's Choice Awards. And I've been, my work has been in The Flash from Warner Brothers, major motion picture called Lavender, and I've been interviewed and featured on a number of news outlets, so we don't have to talk about that right now. I've explored approximately 760 abandoned places since 2012. Now, as a beginner, we all know there's phases and mistakes we have to make to be better photographers and smarter explorers. So I'm 100% self-taught and still learning, so let's take a look at some of my early work that we can all laugh at. Because if you're not laughing at yourself, what are you doing? This is my very first picture of an abandoned house. I shot it in auto mode, JPEG. I didn't know what RAW meant. I didn't know that there was an M on the dial. I didn't know anything about framing or composition, and I was too afraid to go inside. So here's some photos of a house on Terrain Road. You've probably all seen it. And this is my early work. I used to take my camera and tilt it to the left or to the right before I took the picture. Again, tilting the camera to the left. Not very great work. And again, before I coined the term freaktography, I took the word abandoned and I made a very, what I thought was creative way of saying the word abandoned with the anarchy sign and then the B and the ampersand and the 1 and the D, and I made a terrible watermark that I was called out on multiple times. How many people in this room are good at HDR? Good. Neither am I. Here are some of my first attempts at HDR photography. For those who don't know, HDR is when you take a number of photographs at different exposures, you put them together, brings out highlights, brings out shadows, makes what's supposed to be a very realistic looking photo. Not when I do it. Very nuclear. Multiplicities. How many people know how to do these? You take very many photos of yourself in the same room. For those who don't know, you set up your camera and a tripod and a remote control. You take a photograph of the room with nobody in it, Then you take your remote control and you run around the room and you pose in many different ways. I still greatly enjoy doing these. I don't do them as much as I used to, but they are a lot of fun. If you are an urban explorer, you have to buy a gas mask at some point during your time. And you have to take photos as though you are living in a post-apocalyptic world. This is for a series I did in December of 2012 when the world was supposed to end. This is a photo of me on December 11th, the day before the world was going to end, and the thought here was that this is my future looking back at me in the mirror. It's very deep stuff, guys. And there we are. Oh, sorry, it was December 21st. The world was supposed to end. And this is, as you can see, I bought a calendar on freebookmarkcalendars.com and set up this shot. So now that we got all that stuff out of the way, let's take a look at what I think is some of my better stuff to get us warmed up. This home is being burned down. It was actually in Horning Mills, Ontario, and instead of demolishing the house, they actually burned the house down to the ground, legally. If you ever approach what you think is an abandoned church and you want to go inside, all you have to do is open a window, because almost every church I've ever been to, windows are open. This is the Lambton generating station, which is currently under demolition. My partner, Ridham Ryder, and I, we explored this while it wasn't open, but it still had full power, and they hadn't started demolition yet. Same place. Also where I received my second trespassing fine. This is the church in Montreal. This is a coffin in a funeral home that was in Niagara Falls. And a lot of people always ask me if I got in the coffin. I didn't, because my mom was one of my biggest fans, and I don't think my mom wants to see me in the coffin. Now this is the sewer in Montreal. It's actually a storm drain. It's one of the oldest storm drains in Montreal. But what I didn't know going in is that it used to be a poo sewer. So there were still quite a few remnants of French people's poo in this sewer, but it was mostly a storm drain. So it's okay. This is the Buffalo Psychiatric Hospital. It's actually now been rebuilt as the Hotel Henry. Most of it is anyways. The middle of the facility is a hotel. The left and right flanks of the facility are completely abandoned. You can go in the summertime and do tours. I highly recommend the photographers tours at this place called the Richardson Olmsted Complex in Buffalo, New York. But I didn't do the tour. This is the largest storm drain in Toronto. You don't want to be in there during a water storm or a rainstorm. This is on Clifton Hill in Niagara Falls. Now this picture is downtown Toronto, and where I am is called Ice 2. There's two towers downtown, Ice 1 and Ice 2. Ice 1 is the lower one. This is Ice 2, the taller one. This picture right here, I took right there. See the red laser pointer? So I climbed there a year before, and I took that picture from right there. This was the movie from the movie It from Stephen King. They built it in Oshawa, Ontario as a movie set, and photographers would flock there all throughout the day to take photos of this house. You get there and you couldn't get a clean shot without somebody in the photo, so I went at about midnight and managed to get what I thought was a pretty good picture. Anybody seen The Natural? Robert Redford?
Yes.
Robert Redford slept in this bed during the filming of The Natural. That's McLean's. Have you guys been to McLean's to take photos? Great place, eh? This is the church in Mississauga. And that's a house that I discovered last fall. So let's talk a little bit about natural decay. A lot of people talk about kids and vandals and graffiti and what happens when you get a location into the wrong hands. But I will tell you, put an abandoned building in the hands of Mother Nature, and we're going to have a look and see what happens. I explored this place first in the summer of 2012. It looks pretty nice. It's got a little bit of black mold growing on the walls and some water damage. I went back 2 years later, and that's the difference 2 years makes. Sorry, 3 years. Then I went back again in 2018, and it's gotten even worse. So let's go back and do this again. 2012, upon discovery, not a whole lot of people know about this place, so none of what you see is actually done by kids or vandals or somebody who's up to no good. This is Mother Nature doing her thing. There's the piano in 2012, and then 3 years later, there it is again. So some of my favorite places to explore are mental asylums and psychiatric hospitals. This one here is in New York State, and it was my very first long road trip that I ever took. And to get here, it's on the property of an active prison. So in order to get into this building, you have to sneak through prison property and get by Department of Corrections security patrols to get to this building right here. So you know how in the cartoons when you're a kid and you see like the tippy-toe cartoon character, and he runs and he hides behind a tree, and then he pokes his head out and then he runs to the next tree? That's me, no word of a lie, trying to get to this building. Now, what I do is, knowing that I'm trespassing on any property, in terms, especially with this one here, I always carry a second memory chip in my pocket, and on that memory chip is pictures of birds and trees and nature. So if I'm caught and if I have the opportunity, I will quickly slip out my memory card with my trespassing photos and slip in my bird pictures. Then if I'm asked to show, was I in the building, I can say, no, officer, I was just taking pictures of the birds. This beauty salon, when I explored it in 2012, was on the second floor of the psychiatric hospital. It's now in the basement. And the reason why it's in the basement is because the floors are collapsing all over the place. When we got here, we had to hug the walls along the side to get up and down. Now, however, if we did fall through the ceiling, through the floor, it's only like an 8-foot drop to the basement, so it wouldn't be that bad. Now, this is the graveyard at this psychiatric hospital. There are over 5,000 souls buried in this graveyard with no names, only by numbers. So years and years ago when they buried them, they were all buried with these cast iron grave markers. But that became a problem for the guy that would cut the grass, because he would be running over them. So they replaced almost all of the grave markers with little cement ones on the ground, but they did keep a portion up that's got this. Now, while I was walking, I did trip over a grave where the casket in the ground had actually collapsed, causing the ground to go down, and I fell into somebody's grave. This is the Brockville Psychiatric Hospital, also on an active prison. I think I explored this one about 4 years ago. They've now upped their security patrols as a result of myself and a number of others having gone there, but it was an excellent explore. This is also inside that hospital. The entire facility is connected by underground tunnels, and this is in the tunnels. It still has power. And most psychiatric hospitals have bowling alleys. I didn't know that. This is in Kingston. This is an old psychiatric hospital that's been closed for quite a while. Now, in order to get into this one, we had to go at night. There was myself and 3 other friends. And we had to go at night and wait for the security patrol to drive by. And then we had to hop the fence to go inside. Once the security patrol drives by, you know you have about an hour before they come back, maybe 45 minutes. So we get inside under the cover of darkness, and we explore only the tunnels because we couldn't use our flashlights. But one of the guys that we were with, he thought it would be a good idea to open one of the doors in the basement about an inch, so that when he came back, he had an easier way to get inside. So we had a sleepover. We set up our hammocks in the kitchen, and we slept in this building overnight. Got up at about 7:30 in the morning and started exploring, maybe 7. 8:30 in the morning, I look outside and I see a security guard screaming inside of the door that my friend had opened the night before. She now knew that there was somebody in there because foolishly the door was left open by an inch. And when she does her hourly patrol every morning, she knows that we're in there. So she calls backup, and there are now 3 security guards running up and down the hallways of the psychiatric hospital trying to find 4 trespassers. So we go to the top floor, we hide inside a room, and we can hear them and their walkie-talkies outside of the door of the room that we are in. So we waited about an hour until things calmed down. We said, okay, we should probably leave now. We went to leave, They shut and locked all the doors inside so we couldn't get out. Tried to lock us in, so we had no choice but to call 911. But what they didn't know is that these stairwells right here are the original stairwells from 100 years ago, but they don't have doors. So we managed to get ourselves out and through these stairwells down to the basement. We thought we were in the clear, so we ended up staying and exploring for another hour or so, taking some more photos. Then while we're in the basement, we heard footsteps above us. They were still trying to find us while we're actively running around inside this hospital. So we went to a door that we had secured for ourselves to leave that we thought would be the easiest way out. We cracked the door open a little bit. The security patrol knew we were going to come out that door, so they parked right there waiting for us. So we had to run and jump over a very slippery, maybe 15, 20-foot fence, but we did make it out undetected. Sorry, detected, but not caught or charged. This is the morgue in the St. Thomas Psychiatric Hospital. So this house here is in Burlington. It's called the Cat Lady House. It's come to be very famously known as the Cat Lady House. 2012, I had explored about 130 different abandoned places, but this one location stood out more than any other place that I had ever seen. Famously, it's come to be known as the Cat Lady House. June of 2012, I spotted this sign on Walker's Line. Driving between 1 and 2 side roads, I was with my wife. I spotted this sign, and I said, hey, can we go check this out? My beautiful wife said no. If she doesn't do what I do, and I understand. So I took a note of where it is, and I came back the next day. I drove up the driveway, and I see that somebody's been cutting the grass, but they're only doing a half-assed job. So I go around the side, and I see, okay, there's a car parked there with expired plates, and it's not going anywhere, and it hasn't been anywhere for quite some time. The car also had stickers of cats all around it. So I find a screen door that opens, and now I'm in the inner perimeter of the house, in a screened-in solarium type room, and all this smells like cat pee, and it smells like cat litter, really strong smell of cats. And you can see that some of the fake plants have been knocked down, and whatever's going on in here, there's nobody living in here, so why don't they substance animals playing around? So then I get around to the front door, and the front door is open, and I can see the insulation is falling from the ceiling. So I poke my head inside, and I call out to see if anybody's in there. Maybe there's an elderly person who lives there. Maybe there's a squatter or somebody. Call out, nobody answers. So I entered the house, and I got punched in the face by wallpaper. Floor-to-ceiling wallpaper. In every room. There might even be wallpaper on the floor, we don't know. So I proceeded to another room with even more wallpaper on the ceiling. And more. So then I started seeing also these little trinkets of cats. So there's a theme going on here, and I can almost see why it's named the Cat Lady House. And then I proceeded on into this very beautiful, lofty sort of living room area. And there's a pretty brand new, look at the middle picture there, there's a brand new box sitting there. But it's very clear that nobody has lived in this house for a very long time. Then I came up on this, which made me very sad, because you tell your own stories. Somebody could have put that there, but when I walked into this scene, I picture a sweet little old lady fell down. And that's where she fell. That's just the story I tell myself. I have no proof of that. But then I find this pastel painting. Some of you people might even know this woman. I'm not saying you're all old, I'm saying some of you people might know this woman. So then I found some other photos from around the house, and there's a number of cats in a lot of the photos that I found. And then there was a dog. Now I'm going to warn you, the next two pictures are not very nice. I stumbled upon this, which I couldn't tell what it was. It looks like a raccoon. It could be a dog. I don't know. But 6 months later, another explorer had gone, and I'm sorry, the next picture is also not very nice. Does that look like a cat to you? Yeah, it looks like a cat to me. So sadly, one of this poor lady's cats stayed in the house and didn't get out alive. This is the house maybe 2 years after I first discovered it. Unfortunately, word got out to a whole lot of people, and this house was completely trashed beyond anything that you could ever have imagined. There's another, so you remember my photo of this room. it's just been trashed. Not long after the discovery, some other explorers had approached the house to go in, and there were scrappers inside taking out all the copper. So this is that woman, her name was Fern. She was a very wealthy woman. She had 14 cats living with her in this unique home. She was born in Vermont in 1909. She had a couple of siblings. In 1941, she married and met a guy named Simon McCullough. They relocated to this property in 1970 to spend their retirement operating a hobby farm where they raised horses, ducks, and geese. Fern died in 1999. Now there was two different wills. Once both people passed away, one of them wanted a house to go to a surviving family member who lived in Germany. The other one wanted Conservation Halton to have the property. So while the property dispute was going on, Conservation Halton was supposed to be watching and maintaining the property, which they sort of did. Until February of 2016, somebody burned down Fern's poor house. Right down to the ground. But now there's a beautiful mansion being built on in its place. So next we're going to talk a little bit about industrial. This is the St. Thomas Ford Assembly Plant, and it is 2.6 million square feet of industrial awesomeness. Operated from 1967 to 2011. Now, as you can see, I've color-coded this map for you to help you follow along. What we did here is down here, there's a road down here, and then there's the train tracks. So my friend Jamie and I, we parked right here, and what happened was, we weren't planning to go here on this day. We were going back to the St. Thomas Psychiatric Hospital. 2 weeks prior, we had been in, did some exploring, and we left about 10 different doors and windows open for ourselves so that we could come back. We came back 2 weeks later, and someone had closed and locked all of our doors and windows. So we drove all the way to St. Thomas, and now we have to do something with ourselves. So we failed at 3 other places that we tried. I said, why don't we just try the Ford plant? What do we have to lose? I've driven by the Ford plant many times. There was always 2 security cars, and there was always security guards inside the security booth. So we knew there's a good chance we're going to get caught, and we're probably not going to get in. So anyways, it's pouring rain, and now we're walking through this red line here. We stopped, and Jamie had a bunch of ticks on his arm we had to help take off. By the time we get here, we're soaking wet, and we're miserable, and we know we're not getting in. I get right here, and the very first door that I pull on, open, like the gates of heaven. So in we go, to conveyors, and paint booths, and on lines, and just, to the average automotive worker, this is probably nothing, but to a guy like me, this is heaven. So we continue our explore, and we're probably going like an hour to 2 hours on. Now, if you notice on the right-hand side of this picture, there's a little bit of a roadway. We noticed there was tire tracks that were pretty fresh and pretty consistent going throughout the plant. So we figured they must do some kind of a patrol throughout the day. So we decided, let's stay within the lines of the assembly line and try and stay away from the lights. These are all very long exposures. Stay away from the lights, stay away from the road. So we come here, and I'm right in the middle of the road. And right behind me is a giant spotlight that's illuminating this road. And you can also see along there's even more lights up ahead, which we later found out this is for the security guards to do their patrol inside. So I said, you know what, we might want to go hide for a while and see if we can watch the security patrol come through, and then we know we've got at least another hour. So just as we turn around, a security guard comes around on a golf cart. It's a security guard. So he stops, and I drop to the ground immediately, thinking maybe he didn't see us. Well, Jamie froze standing up. He says he saw us, you might as well get up now. So he's yelling, what the F are you doing? Who are you guys? What are you guys doing here? And we're walking, and as we're walking towards the security guard, I'm switching out my memory card to my bird pictures, as is my card, because we both have the same idea. So where we are when he catches us, the blue is where we've explored so far, okay? This is where he catches us. So he says, what are you guys doing in here? And I said, we were actually just going for a hike out in the back forest, and we saw this cool old building, and we thought, maybe we'll come check it out. Well, how long have you been here? I said, we just got here. He says, well, then you see the no trespassing signs? I didn't want no trespassing signs. We just got here. He says, you guys aren't supposed to be. You guys are in a lot of trouble. So he lights up a cigarette, and I want to ask him, should you be smoking that in here? but that wouldn't have gone over very well. So he says, I got to call up to my friend. He calls his friend up front, and he says, do you know anything about a couple of photographers being in here? And security guard up front, he says, nope, not supposed to be anybody in there. He says, put him on the golf cart and we'll have a talk with him. He says, you guys are in a lot of trouble. So we pack up our camera gear, we sit in the back of the golf cart, and he takes us for a drive where the yellow line is. Okay, so now he's driving us through the plant, almost teasing us with things like this. And we're driving in the back of this golf cart, which is dead silent, by the way. So I say to the guy, so you got to do this patrol all the time? No, like once a shift. He says, it's now 3 o'clock. He says, once a shift. I said, oh man, you must have long shifts. He says, yeah, well, they're 12-hour shifts. So you pretty much do a patrol at the beginning of and end of every shift. So I'm nudging Jamie, I'm like, write this down. So he's driving us around, and I said, so what do you guys do all day? Oh, we just sit out in the guard shack, we play solitaire, shoot the shit, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. And I said, so what time does your shift start? He said, yeah, well, it's 3 o'clock. We pretty much get here around 2:30 and do our first patrol at 3. He has no idea what he's doing this guy. So anyways, he brings us to the guard shack, which is where the X is. And the other guy's really mad, okay? He's not as nice as this guy. And he's telling he's going to call the police. We're trespassing, mischief, breaking and entering, all this stuff. But then I noticed that these guys are commissionaires, security guards. Commissionaires are ex-military. Guess who's ex-military? Me. So I say, you guys are commissionaires. Yeah. So what branch did you guys serve? They told me. I said, I did 3 years, Lincoln Welland Regiment, RCR. I was an infantryman. I did this, I did that. Now we're best friends talking about the Army. So this goes on for about 20 minutes, just shooting the breeze about working at the Ford plant. And I found out that one of these guys worked here and he retired there, took a job as a security guard. The other guy is just a retired military vet. Decided to take a second job. Bob got a lovely wife and grandkids. So anyways, the guy who was really nasty earlier, well, you guys don't seem too bad. You guys seem like pretty nice guys. So I'll let you go this time, but don't come back. He says, by the way, where did you park? And I said, oh, way over on the corner there. He says, get in the car. I'll drive you back to your car. So back in the car we go, and 1 week later, my friend Rhythm Ryder and I get back in my car, we drive back to St. Thomas, park the car across the street, check our watches, get in around 10:30 in the morning, we explore until 2:45. At 2:45, we go in this little room right here, where there's windows. It's nice and dark, we crack open a couple of cold beers, we eat our gas station sandwiches, have a bit of a conversation, being quiet. All of a sudden, don't we see it? Coming around the corner over here, a little red light of a golf cart driving by, about 10 to 3, 1 minute, 5 minutes to 3, driving around, stops right about here, he gets out, gets his flashlight, and he starts looking around to make sure nobody's hiding, gets back in his golf cart, over here, drives away, and now he's gone. So Jamie and I pack up our gear, and we continue shooting, and we spent probably a good 7.5 hours exploring the St. Thomas Ford plant. Because now we knew we were good, the 3 o'clock patrol was done. And what an explorer it was. As I said, 1.6 million square feet. So everybody's been to Niagara Falls. Everybody knows that Niagara Falls has a number of power plants, hydroelectric plants, and there's about 3 of them that are no longer working. So there's a really nice one right here. As you're coming towards the falls, you get past the falls and all the mist, on your right-hand side there's a nice big power plant. Whoops. How many people went to the Open Doors Photography Day in Niagara Falls at the power plant? You guys went? Okay. Well, I went too, but I went before all that. So what I did was, I ended up, what we're going to do here is we're going to take a walk together from this line right here, and we're going to look at the whole power plant. And then I'm going to show you guys parts that you didn't get to see during the legal tour. Then I went down 150 feet underground. Then I followed a 2,200-foot tunnel all the way to over here. Right there's a little tiny opening right there, okay? Yeah, oh wow, it was great. So a hydroelectric power plant is basically a giant iceberg. And what you see is just the tip of the iceberg. All the good stuff is down here. And that's what I wanted to see. So some friends of mine from Montreal had been in town a few weeks before, and they managed to get inside this power plant and another one across the street. Now the one across the street is very, very, very dangerous. This one is just very, very dangerous. So I decided to not go with them to the other one, but they gave me just enough information that I needed to figure out on my own how to get into and explore this power plant. So I make my way inside under the cover of darkness as we do. Luckily inside there's still lights on. So this is the main turbine hall. Very, very large, very beautiful, very old. And just beautiful, right? Now the problem is there's a giant parking lot right here. And there's big giant windows. So I can easily be seen because the lights are on inside. So I have to be very stealthy and careful. I continue my explore of the main hall on this night, and then I find the control room, which is kind of what I wanted to see, at least on this trip. I knew I wanted to get it all done in one trip, because it's such a big place. So I took some photos of the main hall, took some photos of the control room, and then I went back to the turbine hall, and then I went home. But what I was looking for was how do I get down here? So when I come back in a couple of days, next I'm going to go down here, and then I'm going to go all the way down there. As you can see, it goes down pretty far. So I came back a couple nights later, same idea, after dark. Now what I didn't tell you though, is I didn't know if they had active cameras and motion sensors. I knew that my friends had been inside and they didn't get caught, but I didn't know if there were actually cameras. Maybe they just got lucky. So what I did was on my very first night, I went inside and I looked for every camera and motion sensor I could find, and I tripped them off, and I stood in front of them. Then I went back out to my car for a half an hour, and I waited for the police to show up. In Niagara Falls, if you get inside this building and the police know about it, they're going to be there in 5 minutes. Well, nobody showed up. So I pretty much knew I was okay. So I went back a couple of nights later, and now I'm underneath the turbine hall. And this arched doorway right here, or this arched roof ceiling, is this way to support the massive weight of the generators up top. And this is what's called the blast deck. I don't know why it's called the blast deck. But I knew that this was going to get me to where I wanted to go. Down there. So this thing right here is called a penstock. Now over here is the Niagara River. And over here is a forebay where all the water comes in through the forebay. Then it goes in through these gates and down these penstocks, down below to spin the turbines. For scale, I will show you how big they are.
Cool.
So now, I've made my way down a number of very rusty ladders. The further down you get, the darker and damper and more rusty it is. And the holes that get down each way, now there is an elevator, but you don't want to use the elevator. So, too easy, right? Oops. So you make your way down through these levels, and then right now I'm standing right here. I still have 2 more levels down to go. So I see this ladder right here. Now you've all stood on an extendable ladder, and you know how wobbly they are. Imagine a 30, 40-foot extendable ladder, and how wobbly that is. So I had to make my way from here down to here as slow as humanly possible, and if something went wrong, there's pretty much no way out. And there's a view of the ladder, and you can see a lot of the water and the kids that's going on down there. So this is now 150 feet below the surface level of the city of Niagara Falls. So that's where I am now. That's me. Now, where I'm standing right now is where all the water from the penstocks would pour down into this outfall tunnel back out into the Niagara River. So picture this, 50 years ago, 20 years ago, full of water, quite literally, what would be going on down here. So the next photo is from a friend of mine. He took this photo in 2014, and you can see how much water in this long exposure is pouring out of that pipe above me. It actually was even worse than that at some points. But at some point between 2014 and 20, whenever it was that I was there, they closed off and they sealed it off so there's no more water. So I turned around and that's where I'm going, into the black abyss. But what I didn't expect to see was a giant tree. 2,000 feet, 2,200 feet into the tunnel. The Niagara River had carried a tree up into this tunnel. So you can only imagine how powerful that water is during high times of the day, when the water is all the way up there to carry that in. So I continued my explore, finding things like styrofoam, thousands and thousands of water bottles. I found random pairs of shoes. The story I tell myself is that these are the shoes of jumpers that have jumped down to Niagara Falls. Because how else would a shoe get down here? So there I am at the outfall. Right across the way, you can see the American Falls. And so luckily you have the illumination of the lights on the falls that give you a little bit of ambient light, but this is a very long exposure. And that's me. And then there is when they first built it. So take another look here. There's me, and then there's these guys. Probably my most, my proudest experience in exploring. And that's where I'm standing right there. This one is called the House of Treasures, and I explored this house in March of 2014. Anybody in the room who follows my stuff probably knows where this story is going, and I'm just going to ask that you not spoil the surprise for everybody else in the room. It was a very, very snowy day in March of 2014 during March break. There was a snowstorm going on outside. And there's this house that my friend Bruce had told me about. And Bruce had showed me photos of this house with all these antiques and trinkets and things, and I said, I've got to check out this house. So Bruce was nice enough to give me the course of the house and tell me how to get in. So I go inside, I set up my camera, I put down my coat, and I had already set up my camera, and as I'm about to take this picture, I see something right here on the floor. Now it's not there anymore because I already got over to pick it up. But I go over and I lean over to see what this is, and I think I probably shouldn't be in this house. Maybe I should split. But it's the middle of a snowstorm during March break. Nobody's coming to this house as far as I know. So I'm just going to take care of whatever it is that I found here. I'll take care of it later. So I continue my, yeah, that's where it was. So I continue my explore, and I'm finding lots of family photos. This is in the kitchen. And stuff from, you know, some very old stuff and some very old photos. This, I would learn later that the woman of the house died in that hospital bed, in that room. I continue on upstairs, and the upstairs of the house, there was holes in the ceiling and holes in the roof, which had completely advanced the decay in the house from the upstairs. Found this old turntable hidden in a corner. Old stereo and baseball. But the whole time I'm thinking to myself, this stuff I found in the kitchen, I feel like there's probably something more to it. So I head back downstairs. I'm just going to show you guys this for a while I talk. So I go back downstairs to where this mattress was, and sure enough, I look behind, and there's a whole bunch more of this stuff that I found on the floor. Now my heart starts racing, and I start sweating, and I'm thinking, I really should leave now, but I don't, because I'm here, I might as well commit. So I continue my explore of the house, and I'm finding more interesting things. And I find this magazine, and some of the demographic of this room, some of you might have read this magazine as children. It's called The Girlfriend and the Boyfriend. Why your boyfriend wants to marry a virgin. Why? I was a prude when it came to love. Every girl has a weak moment. It was your weak moment. I was a soldier's pickup. How many girls in here were a soldier's pickup? Anyways, back to the stuff. Does anybody have any guesses of what I found in the kitchen? Yes?
Money.
You think it was money? Ooh, anybody else? You guys all know the story, don't you? No. It was money.
Wow.
$6,700 in mixed U.S. and Canadian bills. Old Canadian bills. It was really smelly. When I found it, I wasn't so concerned as I knew it wasn't like recent money. It wasn't like some guy just robbed a bank and stashed the money here last week. This money had been here for a very long time. The funny thing is I get a text from my friend Bruce who told me about this house, and he says, hey, how's it going? I wouldn't be surprised if there was a bag of money stashed in that house somewhere. I said, actually, and I sent him this picture. My phone rings seconds later, and he's freaking out. I said, how did you not see this? I said, I walked in the house and the first thing I saw was a roll of cash. How did you miss it? He was going fast and wasn't paying attention. I go slow, I take my time. So when I first looked in the kitchen, there was 3 rolls of cash on the floor. All right, I'll go to the back. 3 rolls of cash on the floor, probably $300 or so. I wasn't too concerned. I said, okay, we'll deal with it later. But then when I found more, I thought, we gotta do something about this. So Bruce and I get on the phone and we decide, what are we gonna do? And I say, tell you what, I'm gonna put the money in these tins that I found. I'm gonna stash it all in these tins. I'm gonna go in the living room and I'm gonna bury it under the floor in the living room. And I sent him this picture. I said, that's where you're gonna go get it. Because I'm not walking out of a house at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with $7,000 in my camera there. So I suggested, and he picks up the cash at a late night approach. Because I'm not doing that. He counts it. It's 6,800 mixed U.S. and Canadian bills. We decided together through documents and paperwork we found in the house that we could figure out who owns this property. We found names, we found newspaper clippings, we found funeral notices, obituaries. We pretty much knew what the deal was here. Hold on, I gotta back up. So we determined that there's 3 living siblings that used to live here. One of them had been to jail twice. I'm not gonna call him. The other one has no record of ever being alive. We couldn't find him anywhere. But then there's a nice, sweet lady named Kathy who's a school teacher in Wasaga Beach. So we said, let's call Kathy. So Bruce picks up the phone and he calls. Now, my friend Bruce is a very nice guy, very wholesome, father, husband, but he talks like this. So imagine getting a phone call from a random guy saying, I have something for you. He also blocked his name and his number and didn't leave his name in the voicemail. So after 2 days, he gets no response. So I take it, because I have a nice voice. And I said, my real name, my full name, my last name, what city I live in, what I do for a living. I have something that I found in a house. I think it belongs to you. My phone rings half an hour later. See, it pays to have a nice voice. So I say, hello, my name is Dave, and thanks for calling me back. And I said, can you please tell me the street that you or your mother grew up in? She said the name of the street. I said, can you confirm the address? She told me the address. I said, okay, well, here's the thing. I do this thing called urban exploring. I go into abandoned houses and I take pictures, I document what I find, and then I move on and I leave. I don't break in, I don't steal things, I don't vandalize. I go in, if I can't get in, I don't go in, I leave. In this case of this house, I managed to get inside. Anyways, long story short, I found a bunch of money behind a mattress that I would like to give back to you. She says, so let me get this right. You break into people's houses and you take pictures? And I said, that's what you got out of all that? So anyways, she calls me back halfway. She goes, I gotta think about this. Anyways, I said, I would like to meet you and give this money to you because you are the rightful owner of this home and all of its property. So this money is yours. She calls me back half an hour later. She looks me up online. She confirms my identity, where I live. I made my Facebook profile public, my LinkedIn. Made it easy for her to figure out who I am and that I'm okay. The problem is, guys, that this is around the time that Tim Bosma was still missing. Exactly. So picture me and my friend with a shady voice calling, saying, let's meet at an abandoned house. I'm going to give you $7,000. So I said, bring your husband. I called Bruce. I said, Bruce, bring your wife. I'm going to bring my wife. So now we have me, my beautiful wife, him and his beautiful wife, instead of 2 bearded, tattooed, shaved-headed guys. So we meet at the house 4 hours later. Introductions and tours. She takes us inside the house. I show her where I got in through the side door that was wide open. This little old lady crawls in through this door with me, and she gives me a tour of the house. and Bruce shows up and he gets the tour as well. She's very emotional. She's crying quite often. She says to us, take anything you want out of the house. Anything in this house is yours, you can have it. And I said, no, that's not why we're here. There was some pretty neat stuff that I wanted, but I'm not going to take it. So anyways, when Bruce got home, he counted the money and he checked it all, but what he didn't notice was every roll had one of these notes on it, handwritten the day, the year, and the amount in each roll. As soon as Kathy saw that, she said, that's my grandfather's handwriting. So this was along QEW towards Jordan, and you know where Prudence Landing is. There used to be a fruit stand down there. Not supposed to see that slide yet. So anyways, there used to be a fruit stand there, and they had an apple farm. And they would sell their fruit at this fruit stand, and all the American tourists coming back and forth, the old man kept the money and stashed it in his mattress. Well, then the old man died and didn't tell anybody. Then the old man built the house to his kids, and then they died, but nobody even knew about it. Nobody has been in this house since 1985. Okay? So anyways, here we are in front of the house. My friend Bruce prefers to remain completely anonymous, so that's why he's Mr. Young. That's Kathy in the middle. So Kathy, completely upset and crying and not knowing what to do, says, you guys are angels, I need to give you a reward. She runs to the car, she gives me $200 cash. I said, no, this is your money, this is not why we're here. She says, I insist, take it. So I took it. So she gives us each $200 cash. We say thank you, we hug, we go to leave. She says, that's not enough. She runs back to the car to give us more money. No, we don't need any more money. But I now got $200 US in my pocket. I think I'm going to buy a 50 millimeter, maybe a 35 millimeter. Right? Well, my angel of a wife gets in the car. And she says, babe, that was so nice of you guys to do that. We should pay it forward, and we should donate that money to the Oakville Animal Hospital. I'm biting my tongue. Because my sweet, innocent wife wants to save the puppies and the kittens. And I want to get a lens. So now every year I get a letter from the Oakville Humane Society asking me for more money. So we have a 10-minute break cooked into the presentation. We have to keep it to 10 minutes, guys, because I have a lot to talk about still. But the most often question that I'm asked is, have I ever seen a ghost or experienced anything paranormal? I'm going to let you guys be the judge. No, not yet. Like how I made it creepy.
Yeah.
Really, it's just a guy walking through a house.
Yeah.
I probably could have made it shorter. So, what do you guys think it was? I mean, I was alone, 100% I was by myself. Now let's watch it one more. I haven't seen it enough times yet. Roll up, turn around. There's nobody there. The window is covered in plastic. It's not windy in the house. So what do you think it was? That's the end of the video. So now you can guess what you think it was.
Lens flare.
Does lens flare make a noise? It's not lens flare because lens flare doesn't make a sound.
Was that clicking noise part of what you heard?
Yeah, that was it. Something flips across the screen, a misty, dusty substance, makes a noise. It wasn't dust, it wasn't windy in the house. It wasn't a bird in the house. I don't know, I have no explanation. People on YouTube are convinced that it's a ghost, and I've benefited greatly from that. But my honest opinion, you saw the stairs buckling, you saw how rough the staircase was. I believe as I got to the top of the staircase, maybe as I turned around, the railing in the banister may have shifted a little bit and sent some sawdust in my face. I like the ghost story better than the sawdust story. But anyways, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. For my friends on YouTube, stay here. We're going to take a 10-minute break. And guys, thanks. So if you guys, we talked earlier about if you wanted to get involved with trespassing and urban exploring, if you wanted to do it, I thought I'd put together a couple of ideas of things that you guys can try. Number one is natural light. Obviously, if at all possible, use natural light. Look for windows, look for the right scene, utilize natural light whenever possible. If you're in an abandoned house, look for a house with holes in the roof, because it's a great source of natural light. Now, I love telling this story. A couple of years ago, I got an email from a woman in Woodstock. And she says, hello, I have 2 children, aged 14 and 10, and I'd like to have portraits done of them. Do you do portraits? I've never done a portrait in my life. I said, of course I do portraits. So she says, I have an idea of what I want. I want industrial locations with exposed brick and industrial windows. I said, just a second. I said, you want me to take your children trespassing? She said, well, yes. I said, we will be trespassing. She said, I'm okay with that. So we arranged a date, we arranged a time for me and this mother and her 2 children to meet up. I knew just the place, there's a spot in Niagara Falls, kind of behind Marineland, and there's this old automotive factory in St. Catharines. So we set the date, we set the time. A week before the date, I went to Niagara Falls and St. Catharines to make sure we could get into these buildings, because they're always wide open, but you just never know. So we get to this building right here. Every door is open, unlocked, swinging open in the wind. The St. Catharines factory is always open. Day of the shoot, however. We arranged to meet at, I believe, 9:30 or 10. I get there at 8 just to make sure everything's okay. Sure enough, the first location in Niagara Falls has been sealed. All the doors that were swinging open in the wind have now been locked shut, welded shut in some cases. So now I have to walk around and do the work and find a way in. I'm not going to break in. If we can't get in, we'll go somewhere else. Luckily, I found a door that had a very small tree, about 1 inch thick, growing in front of the door. So that tree's not there anymore. And managed to get in through that door, and we get inside, and very long story short, I took this lovely picture of this 14-year-old girl with natural light, exactly as the mom wanted, with the exposed brick and the industrial windows. Not bad for your first portrait, I think. Next is something called staging, as you call it, still life. Staging is when you find stuff in an abandoned house and you put it all together and you make a nice photo of it. The problem with staging is they say take only pictures and leave only footprints or whatever. And I do that, except for when it comes to staging photos, because that bag of marbles, I found it in a drawer. How do you take a picture of a bag of marbles in a drawer? The Labatt IPA was buried under soot on the floor. You can't take a picture of a beer bottle buried under soot. So I found all this stuff and put it together, and who's going to make the Trump comment? Everybody in every group makes a comment about Trump.
He stinks.
So I took this
He's having
photo
smoke.
and then I put everything back where I found it. This typewriter, I found this typewriter in Jarvis, an abandoned house up in the attic. I later looked up this type of typewriter. It's worth about $3,000. And that's a really creepy little girl. Now this picture is in a house in St. David's. And this is an example of when you stage your own photo, tear it down. I found a picture of the Pope, I found a phone, I found the lamp, all different parts of the house. And I put it all together in what I think is an interesting staged scene. Now, knowing that urban explorers and Instagram people love to rip off other people's photos, I tore it down. I put the Pope in the bathroom. I put the telephone in one of those drawers. I put the typewriter in an upstairs bedroom. I put Hamlet in the kitchen. I moved the glasses to the bathroom. 2 weeks later, some little shit on Instagram went to this house, found all my parts, and took the exact same shot that I took and tore down. Am I allowed to say shit? I got in trouble in London at the London Library for saying shit on Saturday. Okay, light painting and static light. So this is the Tivoli Theater in Hamilton, Ontario. We're in there at about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. People had not been in here in about 12 years. And we actually made ourselves a way in. And it was pitch black inside. So that's where my LED panel lights came in very handy. I have 2 of these, okay? I put one on a chair on stage left, one on a chair on stage right, and I pointed them up, and that's about a 10 to 12 second exposure that completely lights up the room. But then we realized we could put the lights on. Now I do like this one better, but that one was much easier. Steel wool spinning. Who knows how to do steel wool spinning? It's so much fun, right? Very dangerous. You don't want to do it in the sewers. You don't want to do it in certain spots, but it does have a pretty violent, chaotic effect. So this is a little dude from that photo shoot with the kids. And the mom had wanted this exact type of shot. So for this picture, I took my LED panel light and I put it just off camera. And I put it bright enough on his face that it wasn't completely watching it come out. And that was no flash, that was just one simple light off to the side. Again, not bad for your first portrait.
Second.
Second portrait. So this is my daughter, her name is Victoria, and she might even be watching on YouTube. Probably not, because she's too cool for me these days. Anyways, this is Victoria. I took her to the Tivoli Theater. Now, I only take her exploring with me when I A, have permission, or B, know that it's not dangerous, and that we're not going to get caught. So, this is a building in New York State. My parents had a cottage in New York State, and I found out that there's this really cool abandoned building about an hour away from the cottage. And the people who own it will let you explore as long as you sign a safety waiver. So I've been taking Victoria in here every year since she was 7 years old. She's now, so she'll be 13 in May. So this is the first time I took her here. Now I didn't leave her in flip-flops because somebody's going to say something. She was wearing protective boots, and then I would put her in the spot and put on her flip-flops. Then when we were done shooting, we put the boots back on. So anyways, in this room there was a bird that kept flying around. You know, stupid birds that get into a building but they can't get out. They fly in circles, and they scared the crap out of poor little Victoria just as I went to take this picture. Then I took her back a couple of years later, and I like to now photograph her in the exact same spot over the years. This was last year, holding the picture of the first. Levitation photography. Has anybody in here done levitation work before? It's the same idea as doing a multiplicity. You set your camera up, you set your exposure, you set your scene, take a picture of the room completely empty. Then you find a stool or a ladder or something she can stand on, and you set it up in place and you have her lay on it. Then you take your photos, put them in Photoshop or Lightroom, layer them, and then you erase the chair, exposing the original photo you took of the room with nothing in it, if that's making any sense. Now, There's almost somebody in every group that says I forgot to add shadow. Because it doesn't look real. We'll get to that in a minute. So here she is again when she was 7. And in this picture, if you've ever been in an abandoned building the day after it rains, a water drop sounds like this. And it scares the crap out of her. The very second that I hit the shutter, a water drop drops. And you can see it in her face. So there she is a couple of years later in the same spot. And if you watch the picture on the wall, there she is again a couple years later. She doesn't really like to do this with me anymore. And I'm too cool for Dad. She has a boyfriend now. His name is Nathan. Anyways.
He likes cats.
So there we go. Another levitation photo where I added the shadow for the shadow police. Love that one.
Yeah.
The problem is, as you can probably see, I screwed up. Right there is where the stool was. I didn't flow the dress over the stool, so I had to use Photoshop to pull in and erase. I mean, it just looks so fake, but if I showed you that picture really quick, you probably wouldn't have noticed. So I just called it out myself. That's her favorite. There's a nice one. And another one. Time check. We're good. So we're going to start with goofy portraits, and then we're going to get into some Burlington abandoned locations. Again, I'm sorry if any of these houses belong to you people. So, this is my partner, Rick Ryder. He's been my exploring partner since 2012. We've been through hell together, and we also always be sure to have a good time when we're exploring together. So we always set up and take funny pictures with each other, such as this one. Or this one. This is the Hearn power plant in 2015. We spent 8 hours exploring Hearn one day. And this was at the end of the day. This is the morgue at St. Thomas Psychiatric Hospital. You want to take any guesses at what I called this picture?
Posers.
Crack open a cold one. This is the basement of an abandoned sanitarium in New York State. We found this stuff and we got so excited, as you can imagine. Again, there's really no explanation for this. It's just I had to try something different. Now this is a good story. This is a cathedral in Montreal. So Ritter Ryder and I drove all the way to Montreal. We get there at like midnight. Okay. Our plan was to sleep in an abandoned mansion that we knew so many people had been to before. We were going to set up our hammocks in the mansion, sleep there, get a good night's sleep, and then explore all the next day. We get to the mansion, it's been completely sealed up, and now we got nowhere to sleep. So I say, let's go to the cathedral. There's got to be someplace to set up our hammocks there. So we drive, now it's like 1 in the morning. We park at the cathedral. We have to walk around to see if we can even get in. We found a way in to the basement, which took us about 45 minutes. Then we had to find ourselves up to the sanctuary from the basement, which took another hour. So now we're probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, pitch dark, inside an abandoned cathedral. I'm walking around with my red light flashlight, because you can't use flashlights in the dark because of the windows. I walk head first into a man's feet on the rafters. Thank God it was just a mannequin. But just imagine my horror when I walked into a man's hanging feet at 3 o'clock in the morning in a cathedral.
Did you make a noise?
That's just me in a Polaroid camera and my gas mask and hair. I had hair back then. This is my beautiful wife and I. This is our Christmas picture from about 3 years ago. I convinced her to do this, and she's never done it again.
Pose head, yeah.
So the funny thing about this picture, we went out on a day with exploring with friends. I didn't actually take this picture, but I have one similar to it. This one's better. So anyways, we spent a whole day exploring with 6 or 7 of us all over our southern Ontario. We get to this house in Jarvis, and we have to do our cruise shot. It's just mandatory. You take a cruise shot when you're out in a group like this. So we said, hey guys, let's take a cruise shot at the staircase. Okay, everybody walks back to their camera bags. Everybody pulls out a mask. Not one person told another person that day to bring a mask. But everybody knew to bring a stupid mask because at some point we were probably going to do this stupid picture. The horse mask. The horse mask is my favorite. So this is our post-apocalyptic Thanksgiving. It's an abandoned house somewhere towards Owen Sound, and it has power, but it's definitely abandoned. So we went in, we brought our gas mask in. It was coming up on Thanksgiving. So we went through the kitchen, and we found some Baileys, and we found some sherry, and some canned beans, and some candles, and we set ourselves up a nice little Thanksgiving dinner photo opportunity. This is an abandoned funeral home in Kitchener. And that's me, on both people there are me. So this house, it's in Alderside. So if you go towards LaSalle Park, okay, you make a left towards the marina. There's a vacant house on the right-hand side. Beside Ron Joyce's house, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. Anyways, we called it the Mafia Mansion. And it has these bathrooms with full glass. So I had to know what it looks like to poop looking at yourself from every angle. So I took a picture of me not actually pooping. We went to this house so many times that we actually had a pizza party. That's my friend Carlo on the right-hand side. That's Rhythm Rider right in the center, and then that's me. So we decided, let's go to Little Caesars. We'll get some crazy bread, we'll get some pizza, and we had ourselves a little party in this abandoned mansion. So this, guys, this is what you call a badass picture, where you want to look badass and you want to look mean. So this is an abandoned prison in Kingston. So I said, hey guys, let's take a real badass picture. So we did it. And then I said, jump. So this is back at the Tivoli. Just take a look at this for a minute. So the best thing about this place was the very last show that they had at the Tivoli Theater was Pokemon Live. And they left all their Pokemon characters back. They also left their magic wands that light up and the batteries still work. Poor Carlo was always the butt of the jokes. Okay. Got 20 minutes. We're going to talk about Burlington. I'm going to slow down a little bit. And again, don't yell at me if you own any of these properties. I got an email about 6 months ago from a family who owns a house on Walker's Line that I explored. And they were not happy with it. But that house is not in this presentation. So Burlington has a lot of storm drains that run through the city from the escarpment underground. And they're a lot of fun. Mostly in the winter. I don't really do any drains in the summertime. Winter seems to be drain time. This one is, I can't even explain to you guys where this one is. It's kind of like where Sail is. You know, there's like the hydro line that goes through the city. That one is kind of behind, the hell's that restaurant? You know where the movie theater is? There's a whole culvert behind the movie theater. Back there. I mean, you can take some pretty interesting shots in drains. I don't really like to do the sewers. I more like to do the storm drains for many reasons. This one is kind of behind the YMCA. This one is in the behind Maple View Mall. It goes underneath the QEW for the 403. So here's a couple of randoms. This is actually lit by a drone. I had this guy that has a drone meet me, and we put my Loom Cube on his drone. This is the house that's on Dundas between Tremaine and Bronte on the left hand side. What is that? The north side. You get the house I'm talking about. Anyway, so we had a light put on his drone, and he flew his drone around, and I managed to get a couple of what I thought were interesting shots. This one, he's just hovering the drone right above the house, and then this one he just puts it in a circular motion, and I thought it made for a pretty neat shot. This one is up Tremaine Road, just before Britannia on the right-hand side going towards Milton. It's all boarded up now. This is a funny house. At the corner of Bronte and Dundas, there's a house. But in the back of his house, he has an abandoned house. So I went back and I checked it out, and he had some pretty cool stuff in this old house on the back of his property. Some creepy dolls. And he had these really old maps of Niagara and Hamilton and St. Catharines. I thought they were pretty interesting. This house was at the corner of Walker's Line and 2 Side Road on the right-hand side going up Walker's Line. Since been demolished. You could barely see it when you drove by it. But when you went inside, it was a mess of unique items, creepy paintings. So this is the upstairs of one half of the house. Yeah, you don't really want to go upstairs, at least at this part. I went upstairs to the other side of the house, but obviously you can't get upstairs on this part of the house. The property was for sale with the home as is. Quite conveniently, once again, it burned down about 3 years ago. Isn't that interesting? That is not a staged shot. That's how they were in the covers. Hugh McFarlane. Does anybody know Hugh McFarlane? I guess he lived there. Somebody stole that phone before the house burned down. Somebody stole the phone. Oh my God. Yeah. So then this is the house was weird because it had the front part of the house, which is this part, which was very, very old and very badly decayed. But then this back part of the house was a little bit more modern. It's almost like they didn't use the front part of the house for however many years. So now going upstairs, this was in the dead of winter. I would not have gone up these stairs in the summer with the wet rot and how unstable the house was, but during the winter season, things tend to freeze, and your chances of falling through the floor are a little bit reduced. But I'll give you an example. This bed actually sunk through the wet floor. And I don't have a picture of it, but from the main level of the house, if you look up, you could see the feet of the bed poking through the ceiling. Now, I am so surprised that I didn't get contacted by the people who own this house, because they still live here in town. This house was found on Cedar Springs. I've driven past this house a number of times, but I was never sure if it was abandoned. But the winter is your best friend, because you drive by a house so many times, and hold on a second, if there's never any tire tracks, and if they've never shoveled the driveway, and if they've never cleared the snow that's piled up from the snow plows, there's a pretty good chance that nobody lives in this house. And that's what happened at this house. So I park my car, and I walk around the back of the house, and I find the basement window is missing. So you have an entire house with windows and doors, but a completely wide open basement. So that's what told me that the house was abandoned. So then I went to the back door and I knocked just to make sure. Nobody answered, but as I knocked, the door pushed itself open. And I'm greeted by this note. So that's a good thing. He's probably not here. So I go inside, and this is the living room. You've got a little piano, and you've got lots of VHS tapes, and a box for Steven, and some garbage bags, and a bunch of magazines. Then there's this teenage girl's bedroom. And this bedroom is actually stopped in time with posters on the wall from all through the 80s. Then I found all their vinyl, this old guitar. This is all like original pressing, original vinyl. Probably valuable to record collectors. It is hard sometimes to walk away empty-handed, which I always do, but it can get very hard sometimes. So this is a staged shot, obviously. Found this bike in the garage. Still dishes in the sink. Now, it did turn out that on, but for whatever reason, the family did nothing with the contents in the house. But I did some, this is the creepy thing, I did some research on Facebook and on the internet of the people whose names I found, and I found a girl on Facebook who's part of this family, and the day before I was in this house, she posted a picture of her at the barn next door. A couple of days later, I had gone back to this house about 3 or 4 times. One day when I was there, they pulled up and they actually went to the barn next door while I was there. Thank God they didn't come in. Ouija boards are always creepy to find, especially when you find a doll and you put it with it. Dolls are cute until they're abandoned. Right? I wanted to take this home so bad. This was like, people ask me what got me into this and why am I interested in these creepy things. And I, honest to God, I do believe that it's Michael Jackson's Thriller video that got me interested in dark and creepy things. You guys have all seen this place driving up Guelph Line when you pass Dairy Road on the right-hand side. There's this old building by the mushroom farm. So this is my second drone shot with it. That's from the sky. It's pretty nice inside, and I'll tell you, it's wide open. It's easy to get into if you guys are ever interested in doing something. Apparently you can get permission. The last time I was there, I got approached by a little Mexican guy. He got very upset with me for being there. And he asked me, did I talk to Boff? Did you talk to Boff? You gotta go inside the office and talk to Boff. He's saying boss. And apparently you can get permission. But it's a really nice place. There's a lot of good natural light. Lots of advanced peeling paint. There's no graffiti, no vandalism. It's just all natural. And there's that.
It's natural.
This is actually where we close off the presentation, and there's a gentleman here in the group who actually sent me this house. I had no idea of this farm. Does anybody know the Woodhill Farm? Good. Okay, there's one person who knows it. Now you do. There's an abandoned house in Burlington called Woodhill Farm that was actually built by the man who the town of Fergus is named after. It was built in 1833. And that's the original house. It's along the escarpment. And I don't know for sure. I know that the city had approved a motion to give it heritage designation, but I can't find if it actually has heritage designation.